We're only 19 days into 2019 and the pro wrestling world is absolutely on fire. In fact, I want you guys to take a look at this incredible clip from NXT's house show just yesterday. What an incredible move. Guys, welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling. My name is Tony, and today we got lots of big things happening in the pro wrestling world, so we're going to go through all these topics. But with that being said, if you guys are new here, click that subscribe button, and don't forget, we're hooking somebody up with free Destination Pro Wrestling merchandise. We're just trying to name this show that we're doing on a daily basis. So whoever comes up with a great name for the show, I'm going to leave you a message and hook you up with some free merchandise. Whoop, whoop. Okay, guys, so story number one for the day, Cody Rhodes teasing an AEW video game. Well, this is the way it appears because if you guys looked on Twitter just this past day, it's been incredible. Cody Rhodes has got thousands and thousands and thousands of pro wrestling fans speculating as to whether or not AEW will have a video game. Now, if you guys didn't know, I actually created a concept video for an AEW video game, so I will be happy to show you guys that clip in just a second.
She be looking so rich. She ain't happy with her man, now she changing up the plan, but you know I don't give her no time. Yeah, I remember when them girls try to curve me, so I shoot my shot like I'm Steph Curry. I pretend a real baller never worry, and I know these girls don't deserve me. Yeah, I taught her I'ma sip until I pass out. My vision blurry and she looking like a snack now. I take the one out to 619, and best believe when I come through I still lay the smack down. She told me she loved me, she's so obsessed.
All right, if you guys actually want to watch that full video, I'm going to put the link in the description. I made the music, the graphics, and I really suck at it, but a lot of people like it. So let's just talk about the tweet that's got everybody talking about an AEW video game. In response to 90s WWE, Cody Rhodes simply states, classics. It would be cool to see a use of this game engine again, but with a modern roster. Now, if you guys don't know what he's actually referencing, he's referencing the image that was posted on Twitter. Of course, this shows WWF No Mercy, one of the most popular pro wrestling games to ever exist. And guys, that engine that fueled that entire game was probably one of the best engines ever used in a pro wrestling game. In fact, in 2019, people still want pro wrestling games just like that. Now, I'm actually a fan of WWE 2K19, but as always, there's a huge room for an improvement, and there's always room for competition. Now, the best thing is I'm not just a WWE 2K fan. I love Fire Pro Wrestling because it also brings an alternative, but let's just be realistic. We need more wrestling games. Everybody knows throughout the years when it just simply became WWE 2K, it almost kind of was weird. You know, years ago, we used to have multiple wrestling games to choose from, and that's what made video games so incredibly fun. Especially back in the day, how many times can you play the same storyline over and over again? Well, in 2019, everything is much more advanced. You know, universe mode, career mode, whatever it may be, there's so much that you can do. So imagine if you were doing that without WWE. And that's exactly what's cool here. Cody Rhodes clearly has a good taste for pro wrestling video games, and he's got thousands of fans talking. He's got thousands of fans excited because this is exactly what everybody wants. People want a modern game, but with that same feeling. Now, the best part about this entire tweet, thousands of fans, thousands of superstars, celebrities, a lot of people actually responded to this thread, but one tweet in specific that came from Xavier Woods, also known as Austin Creed, this had a lot of people talking as well. Yo, just make sure to put my moves in the game for a CAW if y'all end up making one. And this is exactly what's got people excited because if you guys didn't know, WWE 2K19 actually does feature movesets from independent pro wrestling stars that aren't featured in the game. And that's what's really exciting because that same method could be applied to an AEW video game. Now, today's question of the day is actually very simple. If AEW were to produce a pro wrestling game within the next year or so, who would you want to actually make that game? Do you guys want it to be 2K, EA, Rockstar? I mean, like, who do you guys want? Let me know what you guys think down below. On to the next story of the day. If you guys didn't know, we just recently talked about the Revival asking for a release from WWE, and guys, the drama is not over. WWE did not approve their release request, obviously, but now what's really crazy is everybody's talking about the Revival and their vision of leaving WWE. They're not happy in WWE. They're not happy with the tag team division. They don't feel like Vince really understands the tag team division. And on top of that, what's really starting to bother people is the fact that the Revival is making it clear on social media about their unhappiness. And this is all very clear because of this tweet. Scott Dawson of the Revival says, "Don't matter where we go, we are still in the show. Hashtag FTR." Sasha Banks then responds with a photo with the caption, "Take me with you." And this is where things get really crazy, because if you're a fan of pro wrestling, you know that superstars have the tendency to put little subtle hits on Twitter, and Sasha Banks now has a lot of people worried as to whether or not she will stay with WWE or leave the WWE. And this is why it's so incredibly interesting, because Sasha Banks was pushed all the way to the top, and ever since Ronda Rousey came in, it's almost like Sasha Banks just kept going down further below. And now she's all of a sudden got a championship match against Ronda Rousey. It's pretty random. And that's exactly why people are so confused when it comes to this wrestling show, by WWE, because they're watching this show and they're like, well, Sasha Banks won, then she lost, then she's off TV, and then she lost again, and now she's all of a sudden competing for the title. This is why Cody Rhodes absolutely says wins and losses matter, and if they really stick to that, Sasha Banks could very well benefit from being on AEW. But on top of that, I don't think this is a situation where Sasha Banks wants to go to AEW. I mean, is it possible? Maybe. But I think what this is really saying, she wants management to notice that maybe she might not want to stay. I guess we really don't know the situation, but when she tweets something like that, of course, it is no doubt in people's minds. There's no doubt whatsoever that she might want to leave. I mean, literally, Scott Dawson is talking about leaving WWE, and she's responding, "Take me with you." I think that's clear as day that maybe she wants people to take notice. And if she's getting people to take notice, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I'm not really sure, guys. But at the end of the day, when it comes to pro wrestling, you got to do what's best for yourself. You got to do what's the best thing for your product, your brand. And if you're the WWE, you're going to start putting more money down Sasha Banks. But if you're the WWE, you got to start investing in your stars. You got to have somebody like Sasha Banks look like a company person. She can't be tweeting stuff like this because maybe she really does want to stay with WWE, but that is the wrong impression that she's giving out. And of course, that is a really big concern. And if you're other pro wrestling companies like Impact or Ring of Honor, there's Shimmer, there's a lot of companies out there, you're noticing this and you're taking notes, because if WWE does in fact not keep Sasha Banks, not only is that a huge blow to their women's division, but it's also a big gain for the independent scene or even AEW. Now, what's really interesting about this entire thing, obviously the whole FTR situation, we talked about the Revival possibly using that now that they own the trademark for FTR. That could very well be their tag team name on the independent scene. And if that does in fact happen, it makes me really wonder what AEW has planned and whether or not AEW will ever even have the chance to sign them. Because reports are coming out that WWE will not only not grant their request, but for any superstar trying to leave WWE, they're just going to double their contract. And that's exactly why Sasha Banks probably is stuck with WWE. All right, and on to the final story. If you guys actually care about this, I actually do, because there's a benefit that a lot of people aren't seeing, but we're going to talk about it. Layla and McCool are rumored to come back to the WWE for a possible story with the WWE Women's Tag Titles. And the reason why I'm actually really in favor of this is because there's a lot of female talent on the roster, possibly coming up through NXT or NXT UK, who can definitely use a rub. Now, at the time that Layla and McCool were doing their whole gimmick, it obviously had a lot of fans involved. A lot of people actually like that storyline. And now that it's 2019, it's more about the women who are ready to compete. They could kind of bring back the Divas era. And then obviously, as you guys know, the women of the future can show them that Divas really isn't acceptable anymore. And I think there's a lot of things you could do creatively with that, but reports have come out that they will in fact come back. Maybe it's a run as as the holders of the titles. It's also a possibility they could just be returning for a match for the belts. There's been a rumor that there might even be like a fatal 4-way match for the women tag titles, and they could be involved as well. Whether this is a long-term thing, I'm going to go off and tell you guys probably not, but I could see WWE bringing them back for a small little run. It's even possible they could win the titles Again, at the time that they did everything, while they were in WWE, they didn't have tag titles. So I can see why WWE would bring them back. But this should excite you if you are a fan of the women of the future, the Iconics. Imagine the rub they can get for versing them and beating them for the titles, or people like Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. I mean, there's a lot of potential. Obviously, WWE doesn't have a lot of female tag teams that are actual tag teams. So bringing them back would kind of allow WWE to get things in motion, and that's exactly why I like that. All right, guys, with that being said, thank you for watching Destination Pro Wrestling. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, news videos on a regular basis. And hey, if you guys want to join me on some live streams, let me know. If you guys like Fire Pro Wrestling or WWE 2K19, I want to play with the community online. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below.
You have reached your destination.